The Fiji First Party says Frank Bainimarama will remain as their leader despite his custodial sentence. Mr Bainimarama was sentenced to 1 year in jail on Thursday in the High Court in relation to a conviction for perverting the course of justice. In a press conference held after the sentencing, founding party member Ai Said Qayyum told local media more than 30% of registered voters cast their ballots for Mr Bainimarama at the last elections, which makes him the country's single most popular leader. When asked if Mr Bainimarama would still be eligible to contest the elections in 2026, he said it was dependent on the appeals process.
So you guys want us to speculate about what's going to happen in 3 years' time. Let's deal with this now. Let's deal with the situation now. And I'm here to tell you today that the leader of Fiji First will continue to be Joseph Bainimarama. Come 2026, we'll deal with it.
Frank Bainimarama's conviction and sentencing, if upheld, would rule him out of the 2026 and 2030 elections. Given his dominance at the polls since the restoration of democracy in 2014, this would be a significant change in the dynamics of Fiji politics. Karoi Hawkins spoke to Victoria University of Wellington Professor of Comparative Politics and Melanesian governance expert John Frankel.
Well, it's, I think, enormously significant. The Fiji First under Frank Bainimarama dominated the political stage, not because of democratic support, but because of authoritarian rule for so many years after the 2006 coup. And then by 2014, they were able to command sufficient popular legitimacy to actually emphatically win an election by a landslide, but always hanging around through this period of the coup, the abrogation of the constitution, the censorship of the media, the penalties against coup opponents. Hanging around in the background has been the possibility that the various violations of the rule of law might in the end come back to haunt them. And now today we're seeing that actually happen. I mean, that's not to say it's a happy day for Fiji. It's a sad day because, Bainimarama and many of his supporters believed in the transformational potential of Fiji First, but they did defy the rule of law. And for many people in Fiji, I think it's been seen as an inevitable and necessary step to see these people actually face justice, as they have done today.
That image of Bainimarama walking out of the court in handcuffs is something I never thought I'd ever see in my lifetime, John. Regionally, what was the significance of this man?
Well, I think it's extremely significant because instead of being a black spot in democracy in the region, now Fiji has become a bright spot in the sense that it's got had a democratic transition from the incumbent government to the new People's Alliance-led government, and now we're seeing the rule of law take its course. I mean, it should be said that these various misdemeanors on which Bainimarama and the former police chief, Siti Fenigiliho, are being done, they're being done on things that are significant offences and abuses of authority, but minor offences compared to the big offences that they committed over those 16 years. There are many other things, maybe some things that are difficult to prove in a court of law, other things that require the courts to revisit some of the immunities that exist in Chapter 5 of the 2013 Constitution. And maybe we're going to see the courts at some point test the legal validity of that foundational law that was introduced with no real popular consent, no participation of elected authorities, all drawn up behind closed doors in the offices of the Attorney General. Maybe we're going to see that constitution eventually being revisited.
Now, the conviction and sentencing, again, if any appeals are denied or sentencing and the conviction remains the same for Bainimarama, rules him out for 8 years to contest in the national elections, which would put him out for the 2026 election, but also the 2030 election. Is this the last we'll see of Bainimarama, if that is the case, politically?
Well, I think he's very unlikely to stand for Parliament again, or to want to be in Parliament. I think he was always uncomfortable as a parliamentarian. He left the running mainly to Ayaz Sayed Khan. And Ayaz Sayed Khan, too, is unlikely to come back as a parliamentarian. I think as regards the court convictions and the court judgments, though, there is a problem with the spats that are obviously going on behind the scenes between the magistrate and the acting Chief Justice. This isn't healthy. It would be better to have the judges sitting on the appeal, if, presumably an appeal will come, that are making decisions that are not based on any kind of personal loyalties or affinities or vendettas or recriminations. That's for the reconstruction of the rule of law in Fiji. I think that's really, really important. One doesn't want to see these court cases against Bainimarama as the conduct of revenge kind of actions. They need to be founded on the establishing or building up the rule of law and taking action against people for having committed crimes in the past.